All right, so I'll share with you three unspoken rules about entrepreneurship. The first rule is about clarity, solving their problem, not just your passion. The second rule is around confidence. It's really the confidence of worrying less and focusing on what matters most now, knowing when to worry and when not to. And then the last rule is around connection, about how opportunities begin when you're connecting dots. So let me dig a little deeper into each one. The first one around clarity. When we start out, oftentimes we are driven by our passion, our big idea, the problem that we want to solve, or the thing that excites us most. But clarity comes when we align what we want to do with what customers actually need. So it's about bridging that gap or finding that overlap between your vision and their priorities. The second rule about confidence is really about how, as entrepreneurs, it's easy to get overwhelmed, right? You want to tackle everything at once. There's probably 100 things you have to do. But true confidence comes from not knowing it all, but knowing when to worry about the things that you need to worry about most in that moment. Okay. And then the last rule is connection. And, of course, this could be about networking and having the connections, but really this is about connecting the dots. It's about connecting, recognizing patterns, connecting ideas, uncovering themes that others might overlook, right? It's about seeing these seemingly unrelated things fit together and using those insights to create something meaningful that could be your next opportunity. So I know that these aren't the only rules, of course, when it comes to building confidence or clarity or connection, but these are so critical in your entrepreneurship journey. And we hope they help you as we unpack these, as we align them to our framework. We hope they really help you when you are on your own entrepreneurship journey. So these are the three rules that we wanted to introduce, and we look forward to unpacking these more. So let's explore each role for yourself and for your own business that you're thinking about starting. So the first thing I want you to do is draw these two circles and make it a Venn diagram and list the things in one circle, the things that you're passionate about. And then make a guess on what are the things that your potential clients need. Okay. And see where the overlap might be. So I'd love to share a lesson learned or a story from my own entrepreneurship journey early on. So when I first launched my own business, one of the things I really wanted to do was to get visual thinking into schools. This was a concept that was so transformative for me. This was something that, I felt like completely changed the way that I communicate, I think, and I interact in the world. And I thought, how great would it be if teachers had this skill set? And I partnered with these two leading visual thinking authors, and the three of us launched this organization to get visual thinking into the hands of teachers. Very quickly, when we started talking with teachers, we realized that what we were excited about wasn't actually what teachers saw as the solution to their problems. It was almost kind of a nice to have and not necessarily the thing they needed. I remember talking to two educators who loved the idea. They seemed like full supporters, right? But ultimately, they asked, Kwai, could you create some visuals for us? We don't want to learn to be visual in this moment per se, but we want you to create the visuals for us. So it made me realize that it was an aha moment because what I saw visual thinking and be the ability to visualize as my superpower, my customers didn't see it as a solution to their challenge. So the lesson in this whole experience gave me clarity, right? That success doesn't come from what I'm passionate about, but it comes from solving problems that my customers care about. So passion is important, right? It is very important, but aligning it to your customers' needs is where you can really build a successful business. So as you draw this Venn diagram, think about what is it that can really be filled into that overlap. So the second rule is about confidence, right? Having the confidence to know what to worry about and when, worrying less and worry only about what matters most. So draw this pyramid that I have here and start labeling them. And I'd love to share a story. And as I'm sharing the story, if you can put in here what's nice to have, what's needed but can wait till later, and then what truly matters in this moment. Okay. So when I first started my business, I really wanted to get everything kind of perfect before I launched. I spent time creating my website, designing a logo, creating some business cards, and really thinking that these were the essential steps that I needed to kind of put my energy in. But I quickly realized that those weren't the things I needed to actually get clients or build my business, right? And over time, I learned that what really mattered wasn't my logo or my website. It was really the relationships that I built and the content I was sharing and the speaking engagements I was doing. And to this day, I think very few clients know that I actually have a website or even, and my logo actually I got last year, just last year, year like 6 into running my own business. Because most of my business comes from word of mouth and people who've seen me speak or read something that I've written. And so, thinking on that and reflecting on that, I wish I knew and I wish I had the confidence as an entrepreneur in the beginning, that I didn't have to have everything perfect right away, right? It's not about knowing it's not about knowing everything, but it's about knowing what to focus on first, really. And for me, this has been something that I just keep going back to. There's an order to things. There's not everything that I need to do right now. And so, as you draw this pyramid, reflect on what is it you really need to be doing right now and what can wait and what might be something you never really have to do ever. Hopefully, this helps. So, this last rule is about connection, and really it's about connecting the dots on trends and insights and patterns that you might be realizing or noticing, but not realize that they could actually lead to opportunities. Okay. So, what I'd love for you to do is draw a mind map and for you to start thinking about what are some things you've heard over and over again, or maybe you've heard different names for it, but they're actually connected topics, right? So I'll share an example of, so in the last couple of years, I focus on a lot of culture work, working across differences. I also do a lot of leadership development work, and I do strategic consulting work. And everything that I've been doing in the leadership teams that I work with, I notice that there's something showing up around. Ultimately, I noticed it was around trust, but they were coming up around different terms, right? So, I would have a leadership team talk to me about how psychological safety wasn't really there on the team. So, what can they do about that? I also had teams talk to me around, DEI issues and how can we work across our differences. I've also had teams come to me and say, well, how do we know? How do we know that we have the right people on the bus? How do we know that we are doing the right thing by our organization? And all of that to me is around trust. So, when I started noticing that, it gave me an opportunity to really think and go deep on the existing trust frameworks out there, the existing organizations that would do meaningful work around trust. And eventually, I was able to develop a playbook called Cultivating Trust in Schools. And that really helped my leadership teams address some of the challenges they were facing head on, right? And this experience really taught me that opportunities often come from, of course, recognizing patterns and making connections. And you have to pay attention to these recurring themes, even if people aren't saying the same thing, but what's really the underlying thing with that, right? And now trust building is a core part of my business. It's something core part of my offering. And I would not have been here today if I didn't actually recognize these patterns and pay attention to these insights. So, hopefully, as you are creating your own mind map and thinking about the connections you want to make, you find something and a potential opportunity comes from that.